out about?
Oh, we're jumping right in. So
That's right.
You want to rock, paper, scissors? Who goes first? Or what?
Nah, you go first. I usually go first. You go first.
Okay. So I am absolutely nerding out about Lycan Solomon's Odyssey. That's a jersey I'm wearing tonight. Oh, what, Charles? You have plenty of jerseys. Yes, I do. But this is my new one for book 3 because I'm a chief financial backer. I'm also, when I say I'm an executive producer, I put a lot of effort and energy into marketing it, promoting it. I give Dennis money to support the book, and because of that, I get a whole bunch of nice swag. First jersey I ever owned was Lycan, and it's a beautiful. Actually, every year's been he keeps one-upping himself every year. And I think a swan named Emily helped with this color layout and design. It's just gorgeous. So tonight I'm wearing my orange and burgundy brand new Lycan jersey, which my name on it is linktr.ee/rgop22. But I got my numbers in my QR code. But I wanted to run through. I'm not going to go through the whole entire box, but I wanted to run through a few cool things. So go over to Linktree/wise_n_nerdy, and you need to go to YouTube and see the whole show, and you can fast forward to this part, or you'll go to the clips. Both there are right there at the top of our Linktree, and you can go to WNN clips, and I'm sure, Joe, you'll cut out this part so that it can be standalone as you do. But I got this gorgeous big 3D print. I always call him Ferdinand. That is not his name in the book. It's actually just Solomon, because there's no name for the monster as yet, if there is ever going to be one. And it's just a nice thing. I should paint it. I'm never going to. I don't have the patience. But it's nice. Then I got this tiny little minifig in a cage to go with, and that was cool. Of course, I got my new jersey, and I've got Ferdinand I can sleep with. It's a hand crocheted one, and I really wanted the big boy. The big boy was like 14 inches. I think this is an 8-inch or 10-inch plushie, crochet plushie, but it had the time appropriate hunter kind of skirt on it, if you will. I don't know what to call that thing, but it's not a skirt.
Okay.
But caveman
loincloth.
Loincloth. Thank you, loincloth. This is more shorts, board shorts, but I love it. And one more thing. Come on. I buried it. Of course, I got my hard copy of the book, which he inscribed, which is really great. But I got to show you my death page. So one of the reasons he hooked me with the jersey, and with the fact that I can be in every book but the first one, because nobody's in the first one, because he did a Kickstarter after he finished the first one, and then you started getting death pages in the future ones. So I've been killed. I'll be killed in every single book until the end, and at the end we're talking about just me coming out, in our drawn form as some kind of secret conspiracy character throughout the whole entire arc. But here, Joe, is my death page. I mean, this thing's bigger than my head. This huge print, and there I am, dying horribly, as he likes to do in every book. I mean, the last one I got my head and jaw separated by the wolf from behind. This time it's two gods basically fighting, so I get caught in the storm that ensues from their battle and get flung out of town with all my entrails hanging out and no arms. So there you go. So I do love this book. It's a great comic book. Dennis Robinson does a great job with it. Everybody should absolutely go, and if you're into werewolves, of course. If you're not, then don't go read it. Actually, go read it anyway. It's so good. But he really does a lot of research on lore of the areas and ancient mythology, and works all kind of crazy cool stuff in. So that is what I'm learning out about. Joe, top that, will you?
So I'm nerding out about Violet Evergarden. It's an anime that my wife and I watched on Netflix. It has one season, a special episode, and 2 movies, and then it kind of sort of has a third movie, but the third movie is just a clips collection from the season, so it's not like a full movie. Anyway, the final movie won several different awards. Like it's and on I'd have to double check on Rotten Tomatoes, but I want to say it was rated 100% by the critics and 99% by the audience. Yes, I just double checked. That is spot on. 100% by the critics and 99% from the audience. So very well received. It is about a girl, really, because she's only 14 at the start. And there's flashbacks to when she's a little bit younger than that. She was given to an army major and he was told to use her as a tool for war. And so she is in the army, and you don't really the army aspect is shown almost exclusively through flashbacks. But it sets the premise for her because when the major receives her, she can't really talk. She can't read or write. And she's basically a feral animal.
So she went to the army. Got it.
Yeah. And by the end of her time in the army, she has lost both of her arms. And so she's got these mechanical arms. The other than the arms being a lot superior of technology, everything else technology wise is like just before the telephone is invented at the start of it.
Okay.
But her arm
and black powder weapons.
Yeah, there's guns and swords and
so
stuff. But
steampunk-esque if you're talking about she has metal arms.
Kind of. It reminds me
like 2020, 30, 24
yeah.
cyborg arms.
Other than her arms being weirdly advanced technology, everything else seems like World War I era technology ish.
Okay.
So and so she
I honestly don't remember when the telephone was invented. I went way older than World War I.
No, and she is very, very stunted, and especially emotionally stunted. And so she doesn't understand people's feelings. And so after the war is over, she gets a job as they call them auto memories dolls. Basically, they have a typewriter and they type up letters for people who either have trouble expressing themselves or are illiterate. And then they mail them. She works at a post office as an auto memories doll. And her goal is to try to understand people's feelings, which is a bit backwards because usually that's a prerequisite to becoming an auto memories doll, because you have to understand the meaning of what people want to convey in their letters. And so it's very much a character study. There is little tidbits of action when you get the flashbacks of the war, but it's primarily a character study and a very emotional, just emotional in general. Like there's a couple different times where she does letters for people who are dying and they know that they're dying, and they want the letter delivered to a loved one or multiple loved ones after they are gone. And they do a fantastic job of making you invested and making you feel the different emotions that they're trying to convey. And the animation is gorgeous. It's a very, very well written story. And it was like my wife put in the chat, Violet Evergarden was so good. And if you want to hear even more of a rundown on that, where I'm gonna be on a podcast called. I mean, you've never heard of this podcast before, but wait, you haven't seen, with TV's Travis, where we're gonna go more in depth. I'll be on that February 9th, so in a couple of weeks here. So actually a little over a week. But
so
yeah,
that
anyway.
was the question I was going to ask. One, I've heard that's a great little upstart new podcast. That glad you're reaching out and helping him out as a pro. That's great. But I was going to ask about the Evergarden. So it's not something you need to know the story on to see the movie?
Not necessarily, but if you wanted to not spend the time watching the season, I want to say the first season is 13 episodes, so it's not terribly long, and they're 22-minute episodes. But if you're not wanting to invest that time into it, that third movie that they put out, I didn't actually watch it because it's just clips of the first season, but I would assume it gives you plenty of information for the movie. And you don't actually have to have seen the first movie to watch the second movie, because the first movie isn't referenced at all. So yeah. So if you watch Violet Evergarden Recollections, that's the clip show of the first season. And then Violet Evergarden, the movie. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think you have to have seen anything prior to the movie, to be honest. As long as you go in knowing that she was in a war, she was a soldier, she's not in the war anymore, she is now a doll that types letters, and at the end of the war, she calls him the Major. He went missing and is presumed dead, and she is still hoping he's alive somewhere. And the reason why she's hoping that is because he had some final words for her that because she was emotionally stunted, she didn't know how to respond. So,
and the reason I ask that is not necessarily so I would jump in, but typically in what you haven't seen, it's a movie, just a singular movie. So I'm curious I'm definitely going to be listening. I subscribe to the show, so I'm definitely going to be listening to see how Travis tackles it. And I'm assuming he probably won't go watch the 13 episodes. So that'd be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned to him that that it would probably be fine if he skipped them, but if he wanted to get the gist of it, that he could watch Violet Evergarden Recollections, the clip show. I think it's about an hour and a half to watch for that. So, but they do a well enough job of letting you know what you need to know in the movie that I think it in and of itself could be a standalone.